Hello, I would like to welcome everybody to our safety community forum this evening. My name's Dr. John Dignan. I'm superintendent of Wayne-Westland Community Schools. Again, the purpose of this talk this evening is to one, educate some of the protocols and processes we have in place right now, but also to cultivate and galvanize with the community discussions on ways that we can get better as a school district. The number one priority in Wayne-Westland Community Schools is safety, and everything has to be predicated around that. I just want a couple house cleaning things. At the end of the presentations this evening, we are going to have people can populate the Q&A. The chat room shut off, so we will field questions at the end of the various presentations to address some of the community questions. First, I'd like to introduce our school safety panel for this evening. John Bessick, Director of Student Services. Amanda Dibus, Supervisor of Family and Community Engagement. Jenny Johnson, Director of Communications. These three people make up our district, the heart of our district crisis response team. I also would like to introduce Tony Spizak, Executive Director of Maintenance and Operations, and really the architect and kind of the gatekeeper of our emergency operating plan. So again, all four of these people internally put a lot of work and effort into the safety and well-being of our school district. We also have Officer Arndt from Wayne Memorial, who's the SRO or School Resource Officer there. Officer Donald, who's the John Glenn School Resource Officer there at John Glenn, and then Sergeant Sleep of the Westland Police Department. And again, they're going to talk about some of the training that's in the pipeline. First, that we're going to have in April for some of our administrators, as well as the Westland Police Department, and then for our staff next fall and our students next winter. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bessick and Mr. Spizak, who are going to start to talk about current district safety measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dignan. Mr. Spizak, anytime you want to jump in, you go ahead, but obviously the safety and security of our students and staff is the top priority in Wayne-Westland. We currently have the following safety measures in place at all of our schools. All exterior doors and windows are locked during school hours. Students have assigned doors they use to enter the building in the morning. All visitors are required to show photo identification and state the reason for their visit prior to entering the building. In some cases, parents will wonder, they've been there many times and the building staff should know them, but in all cases, we are asking for ID regardless of how often you are there, and to state your reason for being there. As we complete our bond construction, all of our schools have secure entrances. They're currently at Career Tech, Wayne Memorial, and John Glenn High Schools. These secure entrances allow our office staff to let a visitor enter a locked entryway while they drop off items or wait to pick up students. This allows visitors to be out of the weather elements, but also not have access to the main part of the schools. All of our schools have interior and exterior security cameras that are monitored by our front office staff and administrators. With the bond construction, all school buildings will have updated clocks and PAs that have emergency features, including emergency notifications. As a district, as with all public schools, we conduct 5 fire drills each year, 2 tornado drills, and 3 lockdown or safety drills in every school. Every school also has a building crisis team that responds to emergencies in their buildings. In addition, we have a district crisis team, as Dr. Dignan mentioned, that supports the schools and provides training for each of the school crisis teams. Mr. Spizak, anything else that you can add that I have missed in that?
No, you did great there, Mr. Bessick. I would like to mention that the bond construction will take place for the next 3 years. We won't complete all the secure vestibules until 2025.
And I think another something of note is that the cameras that are going in now are a lot better resolution. The definition is a lot greater, so administrators can see a lot more when they're looking at the cameras.
lot better than it used to be.
The next part of this is the upcoming safety measures, and many of you have heard of the ALICE, and this is a acronym for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. Our current lockdown drill protocols call for shelter in place. The district has been working for the past 3 years to update this practice. We will be transitioning to ALICE training for all of our students and staff. When facing extreme violence, a passive lockdown only response may not always keep us safe. In fact, it's no longer the preferred response of federal and state agencies. People need options to respond based on their circumstances. Proactive options-based strategies help them feel empowered to make the best decision rather than hopelessly endure a difficult situation. Members of our district crisis team have participated in ALICE training and also are certified instructors. We will work in cooperation with our local police departments to implement ALICE training for all our students and staff in the district. You'll be hearing more about this as we begin the training process this spring. In addition, we will be adding Stop the Bleed kits to all classrooms in the district. And I know Ms. Johnson and Ms. Dibus have been, about 3 years ago, started this process of looking into ALICE. And then with our school officers, they also strongly believe in this as well. And that's it, I believe, for my part. Dr. Dignan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Bessick. I appreciate it. In addition, we'll be adding Stop the Bleed kits to all the classrooms in the district as well. Now, I would, with great pleasure, I'd like to turn it over to Officer Donald and Officer Arndt. Before I do, I just want to say we're very fortunate here in Wayne-Westland Community Schools for having two of the best SRO officers I've ever been around in my career. These two gentlemen are engaged in our school community and really get to know our students as well as our families. Again, they're generally connected to the elementary, middle, and high schools, and they're kind of in that lane. So I'm going to turn it over to Officer Donald first. And again, I really appreciate them being on here this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Dignan. I appreciate that. When it comes to the role of an SRO, our job first and primarily is the safety of the students and staff inside of all the schools that we service throughout the district. The next step for the SRO is we're a counselor, we're a mentor, and we teach and we show the right ways of how things, in our opinion, should be done. So we're constantly working with the district of improving ways of making the school safer and a more productive environment. Something recently at the Westland Police Department that we've been strongly encouraged by the district is coming up with new incentives to make the school safer. So our department has sent us the various training. Recently, I was actually just sent along with Sergeant Sleep to the active shooter instructors school. And it's not just about an actual crisis. It's about how do we manage crises? What can I do to make it a safer environment? And as an SRO, my job is to know the students, to get to understand the students, to hear these issues before we elevate to those stances. I have to take my hat off to the administration in the district, also all the staff members in the district, because they are doing an amazing job in a crisis situation. And when I say that, the pandemic, we've fallen behind and we're catching up. And our educators have done an amazing job making sure that they're staying on top of the students, and any information that needs to be passed along, they've been doing that, which has been extremely helpful for myself and the John Glenn side. Officer Arndt, could you tell us a little more about Wayne Memorial?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the Zoom thing. I don't know why I'm zoomed in by about 15, so I apologize on that. But yes, once again, thank you, Superintendent Dignan and Officer Donald. You know, I pride myself on not only being able to, you know, keep the students and staff and faculty safe, but like Officer Donald said, you know, being there for the students. You know, most recently, I had an encounter with a student who ended up transitioning to the Wayne Community High. And before she went over there, you know, she came up to me and, you know, thanked me for just being there for her and, you know, helped change her life and things like that. And I just believe that's, you know, one of my main purposes at the school, to build these relationships, to help students, you know, further their life, further their career, and just be there for them. Because unfortunately, not everyone has, you know, positive role models in their life. You know, in regards to the training, you know, I'm fortunate here at the Wayne Police Department where they do, you know, send me to a lot of different training. You know, I'm a first aid, CPR, you know, AED instructor. You know, we do heavily with mental health crisis, you know, different things like that. And, you know, the pandemic is still going on. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, you know, the students and the staff are actually, you know, they wear their masks. They don't complain about anything. And everyone generally has, you know, a positive attitude about what's going on in the world. So, you know, it takes, you know, a good admin team to be successful, but it also takes good students. And I strongly believe that, you know, I can speak for Wayne Memorial, that we have, you know, great students who are there because they want to learn, they want to succeed. So yeah.
Again, I just want to thank both officers again for taking time out of their busy schedule and being here. And I agree with both Officer Donald and Officer Arndt that we have the best kids here in Wayne-Westland communities and staff. Everyone works together and rows in the same direction. And it's made a very tough time in navigating this pandemic and still being able to kind of move forward. What I'd like to do now is introduce Miss Amanda Dibus. Before I turn it over to Miss Dibus, just a couple quick things. She helps to coordinate our family resource centers throughout the district and really helps to kind of galvanize some relationships with mental health partners. We just had CNS Healthcare go to 2 of our middle schools this week to provide service and care for our school community. She's going to talk this evening about a partnership we just entered into called Care Solace. And again, I think it's a wonderful resource. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Dibus.
Thank you, Dr. Dignan. Good evening, everyone. So I don't think that you can discuss really safety and security without mentioning mental health supports. I also want to mention too, along with Care Solace, which I'm going to introduce this evening, that we work with other mental health community partners in our community. So like Dr. Dignan just mentioned, CNS Healthcare this week starting is providing mental health services to Stevenson Middle School and Franklin Middle School. We also have our Beaumont Clinic, which provides mental health services to all students in the district, and they're located at Adams Middle School. We have a social worker through Beaumont located at Wayne Memorial High School for Wayne High students. We also work with Higera, who last year QPR trained over 800 of our staff. QPR is question, persuade, refer. This is suicide prevention training. We also have certified QPR instructors in our district to sustain this model, and we will move forward to also train our students in suicide prevention. So this evening, I want to share with you about Care Solace. Care Solace is a new program that our district just signed a contract with for the rest of this school year and all of next. What Care Solace does is they take the lift off of our parents and our staff's plate when connecting families with mental health resources. So for example, if you are trying to find a therapist, when you're in that moment of seeking help, it's really difficult to call different providers, to wait on hold, to be told there isn't an opening, to try to figure out your insurance, especially when you are most in need. So what Care Solace is going to do is they are going to, once a referral is made by a mental health staff, they're going to contact the family member within 15 minutes of that referral being made. What they're going to do is call around to providers for the family. They are going to verify what insurance the individual takes, what their needs are. For example, if you are looking specifically, let's say for a female therapist, that is also something that they can search for. In addition, this service is available for free for all of our Wayne-Westland Community School students, any immediate family members who are also in need of mental health services, any Wayne-Westland Community School staff, and any of our staff's families. Again, this service is free of charge. You can access it one of three ways. One, through a referral through a mental health staff person in our schools. Secondly, by calling Care Solace directly. The phone number is right on your screen, 1-888-515-0595, or you can privately search on our own designated district webpage, which is also listed on your screen. The next program that I'm going to talk about is this National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Our district is partnered as well with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you look on the back of all student IDs, grades 6 through 12, you will see this phone number. If you or someone you know is a risk to themselves, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, both Care Solace and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Thank you, Ms. Dybus. I also want to talk about this week we're launching what we call Power Hour. And actually, Ms. Dybus and Mr. Beebe were our first kind of guests to kind of launch the program. A lot of it centers around mental health resources. So if you get a chance, we will be kicking it out through our communication this week. Also, I want to say that next person I'm going to introduce, probably in the last year and a half that I've been here, is probably one of our MVPs, Miss Jenny Johnson. She is the director of our communications department and does a phenomenal job in so many different capacities. She's going to talk about a statewide program by the name of OK to Say. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Dignan, and good evening, everybody. I know many of you probably recognize all those icons at the top of the page. They are the social media platforms that most of us use and also many of our students use. And while we know social media is a great resource and a great way to get information out, I think our SRO officers and our school administrators can tell you that social media sometimes is also the start of where many issues began, and oftentimes they are brought into our buildings. We are asking tonight for our parents, our guardians, and every adult in a family with children to please be aware of what your children are doing online, have their usernames and passwords, follow your children's social media platforms, and have discussions with your children about what is appropriate to post on social media and what is not. And most important, tell your children that if they see something questionable on social media, share it. Share it with school officials, share it with the SRO officers, share it with an adult they trust. But if they don't have anybody they feel comfortable sharing it with, they can share it with the statewide program OK to Say. It's really important for all of our students, all of our staff, and all of our family to know that OK to Say is a confidential way to report things that they have seen online, possible issues they have heard, if there is a student who they believe may be in crisis. Again, they can anonymously share this information and help and resources will be contacted to help them. I think if we work together, we can really try to keep our kids safe on social media. And Dr. Dignan, I think with that, it's probably time to start taking questions from the audience.
Before we do, can you go to the last slide, please? Just one other thing too, we printed off from our print shop OK to Say posters for all of our buildings. So again, we want to put it right in front of students and kind of use it as a resource. If you have questions after this about anything, we have these names of our key district crisis response people. Please feel free to reach out to them. You can email or call. and they'll get back to you. I want to thank everybody for coming on here. And what I'd like to do is go to our Q&A and start answering some of the questions that our community has.
It's okay. Dr. Dignan, the first question we have, if it's okay, if Sergeant Sleep could explain how we're going to train the students to be Alice trained, and we'll
Hi, thank you, everybody. I'm Sergeant Sleep with Westland Police Department. I'm the police department's emergency preparedness manager and training coordinator. So training is really my area of expertise. So what we're going to start doing first is we're going to train up a number of law enforcement personnel, some of the brightest and best that we have. And we're going to train up a lot of the school districts personnel as well. And we're going to work in conjunction with one another when we come and we end up training the children. We're going to start by training, like I said, all the staff. And the great thing about Alice is it gives options. And a lot of the options are actually age-based. So what we envision right now, I do believe, is some assembly-based and some classroom to classroom. And we're going to get down and we're going to talk to the children in a manner that they're going to understand. A lot of who I'm going to bring from our police department, they are fathers. They were teachers. They were T-ball coaches. So they do have a very good understanding of age range and proper content for children of all ages. So there's even, Alice has these great children's books, which I believe that are going to be read, possibly supplied. And we're going to assist, the police department will assist in any way possible that we can with training the staff and the students as well.
Yeah, the question came out, the timeline for Alice training. We're going to have 19 administrators here trained in conjunction with 13 police officers from the Westland Police Department in April at the Old Marshall. They are then going to become trainers, and next fall we are going to move in, like Sergeant Sleet talked about, to start to train our staff. And then right around the winter time, we are going to start to train our student body. And again, we're going to start to pivot along that way to get our students used to kind of move them away from shelter in place per se.
Mr. Spisak, there was a question about secure entrances for buildings. Is there a timeline for the construction of the secure entrances over the next 3 years?
So the timeline follows the construction of the building. So next summer we'll do Schweitzer, Hamilton, Franklin, Stevenson, and I got so many projects on my head, I'm sorry. Schweitzer, Hamilton, and Edison. The following year, it'll be Hicks, Roosevelt, Elliott, and then Wildwood, Adams, Taft. They just follow in sequence with the construction.
Thank you. Ms. Ibis, we also have a question from Adrian, who works at Higuera, talking about how they partner with the school district for different things and that we do send information home. Could you just touch on some of the services that that community partner does offer?
Sure. You're speaking about Higuera, correct? Okay. Yes. So like I said, Higuera has QPR trained, question, persuade, refer, trained over 800 Wayne-Westland school staff. In addition to that, we are also going to be working with them to provide mental health first aid to staff in our district this year. Also, I work with staff at Higuera just to come up with different ways to partner. So I know that we actually have a meeting with them next week just to explore different ways that we can continue to grow and expand our partnership. They are also one of our top referred mental health providers and listed as a provider on the Care Solace website.
We have another question about mental health, asking about mental health engagement at the middle schools.
I'm going to take that one real quick. We had a partnership with CNS Healthcare, and the reason that Stevenson and Franklin Middle School were kind of chose for that is Adams has a school-based health clinic there through Beaumont Hospitals. So now we have mental health services at all three middle schools. The school-based health clinic at Adams services, as Mrs. Divis talked about, services all of our students K-12, regardless of what building they go to. Again, we're hoping down the line that we target more funding to try to put other school-based health clinics throughout our district.
Sergeant Sleep, there is another question. I know you went over training the students for Alice, but we do have several hundred preschool students who are 3 and 4-year-olds in our district. So it's just a question about how we train our youngest students about school safety.
Yeah, thank you. So how we train our younger students on school safety, it comes in, and I'm sure a lot of parents will remember when a police officer come into the classroom at some point and talk to them about 911 and how important it is to utilize 911 when emergencies happen, to listen to the teacher. And the teacher really is going to be kind of who's in charge at that particular time. So the teacher is who is really going to instruct on what option that Alice provides or teaches us of what they're going to do. So it's a very friendly, very kind way to sort of inform the children why it's important to listen to our teachers when things happen, and what are the appropriate things to do next. And it includes your basic introduction to law enforcement and 911 and proper uses of that.
Dr. Dignan, there's a question about how administrators are keeping up with the posts on social media about school threats and such.
Yeah, thank you. We have some people dedicated in the communication department that use different tools and stuff to stay up on it. Probably more than anything else, it comes through what Ms. Johnson was talking about earlier. Students and parents in the community making us aware of posts. There's no way to keep up with all of them, but again, with our community coming forward and kind of making us aware of things, we can make sure that we include our SROs and our administrators with some of the things happening. Because a lot of times the issues will start in social media and then kind of find their way through the walls of the building. So again, if we can be proactive and eliminate some of these things before they become major issues, I think make a huge difference.
Dr. Dignan, there's also a question, and maybe this would be helpful from our SRO officers as well, about safely releasing students at the elementary school. Sometimes release time is very confusing and maybe it's not the safest with so much traffic and so many parents and adults walking up to the building. And they want to know, is there any changes or considerations for changing happening?
I'll let the SROs start off, and then I'd like to say something at the end about that.
When it comes to many of our buildings in the district, they're old. Okay, we have to catch up the designs. I know that the administration, they're working on designs of the parking lot. So it is also, when it comes to a law enforcement standpoint, okay, we have to look at it as, we have to be responsive to it. And when I mean being responsive, I'm saying that we can't collectively sit there because it actually causes more of a traffic jam. It causes more of a bottleneck because now Officer Donald's right there, Officer Arn's there. So now they're looking here. Okay. When it comes to the safety, that's where we need the community to help us. if we're together collectively as a community, where we're watching out, it used to be when I grew up, we had a village and it didn't matter what occurred. By the time I got home, my parents knew about it because the whole entire village looked out for one another. If we can have that collection come back into play, we're always going to be safe. By the time law enforcement responds, okay, hey, I guarantee that I have a bunch of fathers and parents that are going to be taking action by the time I show up there. So let's just come back together collectively as a village, and that's how we can keep our kids safe in collaboration with law enforcement.
Thank you. We also did have a question asking if this meeting is being recorded, and I do just want to tell our audience, yes, it is. And within a couple days, we will have it available on our YouTube channel, and we will also send this out. So if there's a few people who said they missed the beginning of this meeting, it will be recorded. And then Mr. Spisak, it seems like this next question probably would be for you. Is there a thought behind adding the locks to the doors that prevent entry in the case of a window being broken?
You're talking about the sights on the side of a classroom door?
I believe so.
So here's the issue between life safety and lockdown. The police department is great about locking down and securing us, and the fire department is not happy when we do it. So putting a lock on the inside of a classroom door or some kind of a wedge, it is against fire code. So there's a lot of debate going on back and forth in Lansing, if you can have them, if you can't have them. Some districts have done it, some have not. Our current policy is the doors are to be locked and remain locked. Once we train the staff on Alice and the student on Alice, they'll barricade those doors from the inside, and they'll do all the things they need to do. So yeah, there has been a lot of talk about it, but we are not at the moment looking at doing it.
Dr. Dignan, the next question is asking about mental health supports at the elementary levels. Could you address that?
Sure,
please?
thank you. One of the biggest things is we have a SEL curriculum that we run through the spokes at the elementary schools through our life skills classes. Again, SEL is social emotional learning. We have lessons and stuff that we kind of take the students through. Another resource that we're going to have is Easter seals. We're going to put them at all of our elementary schools, and based on need of buildings will determine the resources that Easter seals will provide. We're in the process of finalizing this. There's some MOUs that still have to be signed. It takes time, so we're excited because we think we're getting close there. One of the best SELs we had at the elementary this year, we offered NFL flag and cheer to all elementary students in the winter basketball and both for boys and girls and cheer. And then we're going to have this kind of roll out here shortly. We just kind of struck a deal with High Velocity to offer soccer in the spring for all of our students. Again, why is this important? This is a form of SEL because, again, a lot of times the last year and a half, is we all know our kids have been cooped up, and again, what we're trying to do is provide other things where they can kind of get outside and get exercise and get healthy. But the biggest resource coming down the pipeline at the elementary level is going to be Easter seals, which is going to be a huge deal for our district.
Thank you. Ms. Dibus, there's a question about does the district have anything to supports in place for parents or family members? And I know you oversee our family resource centers. Could you just briefly explain how the Family Resource Center supports the students and the entire families?
Sure. So our Family Resource Center supports all districts in the building, or all buildings in our district. I apologize. So any family who is in need with a student that attends Wayne-Westland Community Schools is welcome to contact us. We are open year round. We are open during the school day. So I would say 8 to 4 is the best time to reach us. We have 3 sites currently, and we have 1 phone number that rings at all 3 sites. So information on our Family Resource Center can be found on our district website, but I'll also give the phone number here. It's 734-419-2709. And parents can also feel free to email us if they prefer. That email address is just frc@wwcsd.net. Families call us for all kinds of things. So whether it be rental assistance, food assistance, tutoring numbers, mental health, emergency toiletries, school supplies, clothing, all kinds of things, we're able to either give you material goods through our Family Resource Center or connect you with a community partner who can.
This next question, or I guess it's basically a comment, but for our police officers about the speed of cars driving in the school zones. And this person almost saw a child
Audio was not great. I don't know if you heard that question.
in the afternoon.
I'm gonna take the next question. One of the things is about speeding cars in school zones. One of the things that people can do is please call the main office with the license plate. And then what we can do is communicate through our school resource officers to kind of run the plates and whatnot. Again, as Officer Donald talked about, it takes a village. So again, we can't see everything. We have to rely on our students, our staff, and our parents to kind of inform us of things. If it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't right, but please communicate that to the building office, whether it's an elementary, middle, or high school.
I don't know if you want to-
I would agree with that, Dr. Dignan. Like you said, let the administrators at the school know so they can contact the SROs or let the SROs know directly. Officer Donald and I can only be in so many places at once. I generally hang out at the high school. So if something's going on at Franklin or Taft, you just have to let the powers, at B know. So maybe I can do extra patrols, when Taft is getting released, or, if I'm unavailable to be there, maybe I can let other officers know. We have speed signs. Maybe we can set up speed signs in those areas. We have tools to be able to assist. We just have to know where and what times are best.
Thank you, officer. One of the questions that was asked is about meeting places, kind of rallying point. Sergeant Sleet, if you want to talk about that real quick. And I know it's probably premature at this point.
Yeah, so it is a little premature to talk about that. And there's some of those rally points that won't be public knowledge. And there's safety precautions for that. But another part of my job, liaisoning between the police department and the school district on the emergency services, is to assist them in making those plans. So we are in process making those plans to ensure that there are those rally points. There is a plan for the end service center or reunification center, but it is a bit premature to make any announcement on that. And a lot of, like I said, there is some security reasons why we wouldn't expose those to the public. It'd essentially be need to know, and the staff of the schools would all know where the rally points would be, and they would direct their children to those rally points depending upon where they're at in the building, where the threat is in the building, and a lot of other considerations.
Thank you, Sergeant Sleet. And just so you know, next week I will be meeting with the police chief of the Westland Police Department. Probably our greatest partners as a school district are both the Wayne Police Department and the Westland Police Department. They've been incredible. Anytime we need resources or anything, they're always there. Matter of fact, our meeting next week is to figure out if we need more crossing guards in the district. So it just shows the city's commitment to our schools. I do want to thank everybody for joining us today. And if for some reason we didn't get a chance to answer your question, please contact one of the people listed on the screen that are members of our district crisis response team. They will get back to you. If they don't not know the answer, we'll make sure that they get it to you. Again, it's gonna, and I heard this resonate many times throughout this evening, it's gonna take everybody working together. Our SROs can't be everywhere. Our administrators can't be everywhere. We have to rely on our staff and students and our parents to communicate. If something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't right. So please communicate. We're here to work together with some of the resources that we have coming into the district. I think it really creates an umbrella to meet the needs of our school community. I want to thank everybody for their commitment. And again, Wayne-Westland Community Schools has the best staff and students anywhere. So it's always a great day to be in Wayne-Westland. I want to thank everybody on the panel this evening, and I appreciate their time. Thank you very much.